Welcome to Algae Omulus Prep Academy. The lesson for today is implicit differentiation. You are finding the derivative of y with respect to x. In other words, you are finding dy dx. You use the implicit differentiation to differentiate implicit forms of equations. Explicit forms write y explicitly as a function of x, such as y equals x squared plus 4x. Implicit forms, however, look more like 2xy equals 4. For example, let's start with x to the fourth power plus y to the fourth power equals 32. First thing you want to do is differentiate both sides of the equation. So you have dx dx of x to the fourth power plus y to the fourth power equals dx dx of 32. You want to differentiate each term separately so that we have dx dx x to the fourth power plus dx dx y to the fourth power equals dx dx 32. Now, you're going to take the derivative. So using the power rule, we know that the derivative of x to the fourth power is 4x cubed. And we're going to use the power rule again for 4y to the fourth power, so you get 4y cubed times dy dx because y is in this term. And then the derivative of 32, which is 0. So now we are going to try to isolate dy dx. First thing that we are going to do is subtract 4x cubed, so you get 4y cubed dy dx equals negative 4x cubed. And then we're going to divide by 4y cubed so that we have dy dx equals negative 4x cubed over 4y cubed. When you simplify, you get dy dx equals negative x cubed over y cubed as your final answer.
Let's try another example. So we have x squared minus y equals x. The first thing we do is differentiate both sides of the equation. So we have dx dx times x squared minus y equals dx dx times x. Then we distribute, so we have dx dx times x squared minus dx dx times y equals dx dx times x. Now we take the derivative. For the first term, we have to use the product rule. The first part of the product rule, we write down x squared times the derivative of y squared, which, using the power rule, we know is 2y. And since y is involved, you multiply it by dy dx. For the second half of the power rule, we add the derivative of x squared, which again, by the power rule, we know is 2x, times y squared. Then we subtract the derivative of y, which should just be dy dx, since the derivative of y is 1, all equal to the derivative of x, which is 1. Now we isolate dy dx. The first thing we do is subtract 2xy squared. Then we factor out dy dx, so that we have dy dx times x squared 2y minus 1 equals 1 minus 2xy squared. Then we divide both sides by x squared 2y minus 1, so that we have dy dx equals 1 minus 2xy squared over x squared 2y minus 1. Now let's try a trig example. So we have y equals cosine xy. First we differentiate both sides of the equation, so we have dx dxy equals dx dx cosine xy. And now we take the derivative of both sides. So the derivative of y, by the power rule, we know is 1, and since it's y, we multiply that by dy dx. Equals, and for this half, we have to use the chain rule. So we know the derivative of cosine is negative sine of xy multiplied by the derivative of xy. And now for this, we have to use the product rule. So we have x times the derivative of y, which we know from before is dy dx, plus y times the derivative of x, which is 1. Now you have to simplify. So you distribute negative sine xy, so that you have dy dx equals negative sine xy times x dy dx minus sine xy times y. Now you're going to isolate dy dx. So the first thing you do is add y sine xy to either side of the equation and factor out dy dx from the right side of the equation, so that you have y sine xy equals dy dx times negative x sine xy minus 1. Then you're going to factor out a negative from negative x sine xy minus 1, and then divide both sides by that, so that you have y sine xy over negative x sine xy plus 1 equals dy dx.